and welcome to the Menopause Mind Shift Self-Love Podcast, where we are inspiring women in menopause to unleash their inner queen, write their own story, and define their own menopause journey. I am your host, the Menopause Queen, Lisa R. Triggs, certified menopause coach, certified neuroscience coach, motivational speaker, and best-selling author of The Menopause Mind Shift, How I Unleashed My Inner Queen, and you can too. This is a space for real, honest conversations about menopause, because menopause isn't just about hormones. It's neurological, it's emotional, and it's deeply personal. After 20 years of navigating menopause, I've learned that what most women are missing isn't more information, it's a different way of seeing themselves. And in this podcast, we talk about what's really happening in your body, your brain, and the tools that support you in feeling better. You'll hear from inspiring guests, as well as the insights and perspective shifts that changed everything for me. Because self-love in menopause isn't a luxury, it's the foundation. So if you are ready to think differently about menopause, reconnect with yourself, and define your own journey, you are in the right place. Have you ever looked in the mirror during midlife and thought, where did I go? Today's guest knows exactly what that feels like. Dr. Julie Merriman is a counselor, professor, author, and podcast host who has worked with hundreds of middle-aged women navigating burnout, self-loss, nervous system overwhelm, and the emotional shifts that can happen during midlife. But this conversation is personal for her too. After going through her own season of numbness and self-loathing, Dr. Julie says she had to find her way home again. And now she's helping women understand that midlife isn't an ending. It's just the beginning. Today, we're talking about burnout, self-love, nervous system balance, rediscovering yourself, and why this chapter may actually be your invitation to come back home to who you truly are. Welcome to the Menopause Mindshift Self-Love Podcast, Dr. Julie. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Lisa, I am honored to be here with you. Thank you.
Please tell me more about who you are and what got you into what you're doing right now.
Sure. It's been a journey. My daddy always said I took the hard way to do things.
Yeah, I understand. Yep.
Where did my journey started, if you will, back in 7th grade in Fort Worth, Texas, where I grew up. I was at this experimental campus of all things, and they had this class called career class, and I learned what a therapist was. And I thought, holy moly, I need one of those. And back in the 70s, they weren't on every corner like they are now. But it started the forward motion as to what got me into my career. Sadly, I got married at 16, which I don't
Sadly.
recommend to anyone.
I take it didn't end well.
Well, no. I don't think any woman listening would go, well, I made good choices at 16. And I did not. That was, I won't beat up on anyone, but it was an abusive situation. I stayed in it for a while because I was told I made my bed and I had to figure out, what to do. And that's all that's to say, when I look back, it was such a learning experience for me. But I was told I was too stupid to go to college. So it was 25, I was about 25 when I hit college and realized that by gumballs, I'm not too dumb. I can actually excel at this. But what I discovered, and I'm sure, we all have our own pathway there. But when I got out of college, I felt like I was behind. I felt like my peer mates were ahead of me. So I really put myself in this pressure cooker for the next 30 years. Well, maybe not 30 years. I've gotten myself out of it, but certainly my burnout did not become incapacitating until I was about 45. That's when it really hit me. So and along the way, I got my PhD and I became a professor, and it's publish or perish and all these things. And that's where I discovered burnout and compassion fatigue, which is what my first book is about,
Hmm.
how it can completely cripple us. And women, and I know it's not just women, but I'm going to speak for women from a woman's perspective today. We give and we give and we give. We don't always even know how to receive or how to ask for what we need. And I was in that place. I was giving, giving, giving. I became the empty cup, right? Because it's a myth you can't pour from an empty cup because we do it all the time. But I, along the way, became that empty cup and I was so numb and so miserable in my life. I really had to step back and see about a different way of living than what I was doing.
That sounds quite. I know we all have our individual journeys, but it's interesting how so many of them overlap in some ways,
Right.
and it's unfortunately too often, I think. So, what is it that you do right now with you're an author, right? As well as your practice right now.
Yeah. I have a private practice. My husband just came through brain cancer and I just came through breast cancer. So I had a brick and mortar clinic for many, many years, but we were so sick and it was very hard to keep schedule that I
Wow.
closed my brick and mortar. And now I see some people I live out on a cattle ranch in Texas in the middle of nowhere. So it's a
Mhm.
journey to get out here to me, but I see a few folks here in my office here at the house. And I am a department chair at a university. I run a counseling department for a university as well. So I'm busy training new counselors into the field, which is, I love doing that.
That's
And I
so great.
love, I'm also, I do some coaching with my, the products of my book to help women really regulate that nervous system. Uh, a lot of time, I mean, that's where I live, wanting to get nervous systems regulated. But I find that so often we have to go back and look at our schema that we encoded back in childhood. So we do a lot of inner child work to help her. Cause I mean, our parents did the best they could. We love them, but we do need to be reparented in some places. And she is the only one who can reparent herself where those little broken pieces might be, or maybe it's a big T trauma that we have to work through. But
Oh, yeah, for sure.
yeah.
So I was going to say that, yeah, tell me more about your book. So your book talks about the nervous system in particular. Is that the focus?
Yes. Yes, yes. It's a 12-week recovery journey, if you will. I really took what I did to recover and put it into the book. And every week I gave a copy to my oncologist and he was like, "Girl, that's a textbook. You really have to work through that book." And I designed it that way. If I am an educator, and from Bloom's taxonomy, we have knowledge, but we have to move to application. So every chapter is built around somatic and chakra psychology. So we need to get embodied. I had become a floating head of competence. I forgot I had a body attached to me. And I have found a lot of the women I work with feel the same way. That just we think we can think our way out of it. We don't want to do the work. I mean,
Yeah,
well, we don't know we don't
I
want to
can
do the
handle
work.
it. I can do it. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I got this. I don't have any feelings. What are you talking about? So through the somatic work and chakra psychology work, I really worked to get her embodied and set up some healthy practices through those 12 weeks. So there's a lot of self reflection, self awareness, and moving from judgment. Because, girl, aren't we mean to ourselves?
Yeah.
I mean, the things we say to ourselves. Moving her from judgment into curiosity and self compassion as she does that work is very important. So that's what's happening in that book. And then I just wrote, "Are we going to have sex or what?" Which is
Really?
yeah,
I may have been known to mention how good an orgasm is now and again. So do tell.
absolutely. And girl, at 63, I'm here to tell you they just get bigger and better, as life goes on.
Let's talk about this because I know this is a big issue for women.
Yeah.
When I was going through my own journey, I found that most of my symptoms were in postmenopause. During the actual menopause phase, I was all good. Actually, my libido went up a little bit. But
Yeah.
once I was in postmenopause, that's when I experienced most of my symptoms and was totally stressed and what I call the outside noise, the outside world, letting it get to me instead of taking care of me. So I know it can be a really big struggle for women.
Yeah.
walk through your book about it a little bit.
It's a midlife guide for reigniting desire, reclaiming your body, and living fully alive. Because as I said, so often we've gone through life, we are in a pressure cooker. There's an allostatic load that happens after years and years of stress and pushing and pushing. Our nervous system lives in what I call functional freeze. That's that sympathetic state, fight or flight, or the dorsal vagal state, which is just that dissociation from our body. Or, I don't know, Lisa, I see this a lot in my ladies. They're doing both. That nervous system is going through both. So, and ideally, we want to be in ventral state where that's our social, that's our playful, that's where desire lives. But we haven't perhaps felt a true ventral state in years because this Alice, this heavy load has just become our normal. Our frontal lobe, our brain is so wise. The frontal lobe is not as available for us when we're in that functional freeze state. The brain says, this chick is in survival.
Yep.
We are taking
We
desire
are in
off the
fight or
table.
flight, baby. We are
That's
in
right.
fight or flight. Yep.
And we are not going to get her pregnant. So she is not going to have desire.
Ah.
We have been living in this body and our interception awareness, where we notice if we're hungry, where we notice if our shoulder hurts, if we notice we even have a dadgum headache, is absolutely in a state of disarray, if you will, because we have not listened to our body. When our body's exhausted, what do we say? I got to get this deadline done. Here we go. You do it exhausted. So several things hit us as we hit midlife. A really interesting thing that happens as well is that our estrogen, that yes, it's part of our reproductive system, but it's also part of our brain system. It helps our brain operate. And so for many, many years, when we're raising babies, holding careers together, carrying the emotional labor of everyone in the family, that estrogen helps us have tolerance to keep people alive, to let people not get.
I like that. Keep them alive.
Yes, yes. And then in midlife, we don't have that so much. So this tolerance piece, and I'm sure a lot of ladies notice after 50, it's like, F it. I don't care
Yep.
what anyone thinks.
Yep.
That's that estrogen effect.
Yep.
We need hormones. And I'm glad they're doing more research on hormones and understanding more what women need. We are the least researched species out there. They just, they research things
We
on
have been
men.
overlooked.
Uh,
We have been underpaid, overworked.
That's right. And the ones
Mhm.
holding everything together. Yeah, I
Right.
mean, so
If it wasn't for us, the earth wouldn't be populated, so,
that's right. Yeah, that's
right?
right.
So,
And or
I
those
think it's,
babies kept alive.
yeah, I think it's time we get a little more credit.
Yeah, I think you're right. Well, yes. And that's one reason my new book, I mean, that's why my research has been so into nervous system regulation because I realized how vital it is. We can think a thought and in the therapist office go, okay, yeah, yeah, yeah. But if I get
As
out
soon
in
as
the
you move.
car, yeah, you think, what the hell? I just spent $200. What, and I don't feel any
Yeah.
better. So if we can learn to regulate our nervous system, we really have more capacity to live more fully, to have that homecoming, to excavate ourselves for that homecoming. But what I've noticed with women in my new book, especially when we are so braced, think about what happens when, okay, just a typical day for a mom who's still, you got teenagers at home, maybe it's graduation season, think of all the crap you've got to get done. Plus you've got everything to do at work. And maybe mom has a heart condition now, so you're taking care of mom. And maybe hubby has become just someone you want to punch in the nose when you see him. Not all hubbies. I'm just saying. My hubby's amazing, but I'm just saying. But I mean, think of the way we brace. We're tense, right? And I mean, I would invite everyone to squeeze their shoulders and drop right now and feel that difference. We've been bracing for probably 10 to 20 years, and our pelvic floor is braced as well. And your genitals are not getting the blood flow that they need when we're in that brace state. And then we tell her to go do some Kegels. It's just going to brace it that much more. So part of what happens as we get that nervous system regulated, we soften. And the more we can soften, the more open we are to pleasure. Another thing that's very important, and this is part of the chakra psychology and somatic psychology, I'm a yoga instructor as well, because I think we have to move our body to move energy. But our root chakra, and if you look at if I'm in my neuroscientist hat, I'm going to talk about the polyvagal system. If I'm in my yoga instructor hat, I'm going to talk about chakras. Girl, it's the same thing. We're just
Mm.
using different language. And chakras are our energy centers that run through our body, as does the vagus nerve. Our root chakra is terribly imbalanced by the time we get to 45, 50, 60. Well, hopefully by 60, we've rebalanced it. And we have told our body it is not a safe place to live.
Mm.
It's very hard to be open to pleasure and desire when we're tensed. Or think about the obligatory sex we've had. Clicking through your to-do list and you're nowhere in your body while your spouse or whoever is doing whatever they're doing to your body and faking orgasms just to get this over with and don't want to hurt the
Boy.
partner's feelings.
Yes.
We're we lie to our body so much that she's confused. She's like, "What the hell do you want? I don't even know what you want." So part of that regulation piece is helping her to soften, really get embodied, really understand what feels what. Start with pleasure. And I invite, if I'm working with a couple or if I'm working with an individual, when we start trying to remap pleasure back onto our body, to not start with the genitals, to first start with very safe, unpressured kind of places. I don't want her to have this like pressure cooker of, oh God, I have one more thing to do. That's just dysregulates your nervous system and
Mhm.
takes pleasure off the table again. But to just start with maybe your inner wrist, maybe your ankles, just trying to find out where do I feel pleasure?
Let him rub your back or your head or something. I got one of those at, like, 5 a.m. this morning. I got a back rub and a head rub, and it's like, "Oh," and that was it. We both fell back to sleep.
Yeah.
There was no sex involved. It was just complete touch, intimacy, love.
Yeah.
I love what you're saying because it's in line definitely with me. I talk a lot about the brain and the nervous system now. I'm a recent nervous system or neuroscience coach myself. I just find the neuroscience part just so interesting in how the brain works, especially during menopause. And we can talk about what happens with our hormones, that the estrogen goes down. But I know through my own experience, we can use our brains more and nervous system by, like what you say, working with your nervous system and actually to be able to improve your symptoms, like or reduce them.
Yeah.
Positive stimuli in the brain and even the meditative state when we're calming the nervous system, we get a chain reaction.
Right.
It, it gives your cortisol a chance to stabilize and lower, which it could affect your belly fat and your sleep. And when we focus on the nervous system and to me, the stress, using these techniques to be able to lower the stress. It tells the nervous system it's okay. I know through my own experience, we actually can see an improvement with symptoms and even with brain clarity to be able to accept intimacy more and things like that.
Yeah.
What's your take on that? Are you in kind of agreement with that the way the or do you have a different perspective?
No, that's all in line. We have lived on cocktails of cortisol and adrenaline for 20 to 30 years. Our bodies are, well, I mean, and yes, I ended up with breast cancer. The immunosuppression that happens from those stress responses, our body just it doesn't think it's a safe place to be. So if we can get a little oxytocin, some endorphin, some of those yummy hormones introduced, that goes all kinds of ways to help regulate that nervous system. Teach, and I'm also an EMDR therapist, and I use internal family eye movement desensitization and reprocessing, which is a bilateral kind of stimulate
Is that with the light?
movement.
When you watch the light or no?
Yes, yes, you can use lights, you can use little buzzers in your hands. Sometimes I just use my hands, but it's a way to process trauma without having to relive the trauma. But you can get very dissociated and very dysregulated as you're going through, as my clients are going through that. So it's very important for me to have techniques, not only with my MDR clients, that's an extreme, but also with any human I'm working with, to have techniques to help them get grounded. If we don't get grounded, if we don't get embodied, we are
Mm,
going to stay these floating heads of competence living on adrenaline and cortisol, thinking that's the normal, and
yeah.
wondering why we're sick all the time. Why do I have
Yeah,
colds all the
and
time?
why we're yeah, gaining weight and can't sleep and having, hot flashes. We're allowing our bodies basically to stay in that heightened stress state, right?
We keep it there. The nervous system is doing its job. We have a little amygdala in our brain, a little almond shaped part of our brain that scans like, where's the danger? Okay, we got some danger here. That's its job. And so we send all these signals with the adrenaline cortisol. Oh my God, I've got a late deadline. Oh my God, this dress doesn't fit. And the nervous system is like, oh shit. So it dumps more adrenaline and cortisol, like, run, there's a tiger that's going to eat you. And then
Yeah.
you end up with indigestion, diarrhea, sweating. Just trying to set a boundary can feel like you're going to die because we've been taught that our performance, our worth is tied to our performance. And if we dare to say no to something, we think, I'm going to die. That's our nervous system. All that is our nervous system doing its job. So we thank our nervous system for that and then tell it to calm the hell down.
Exactly. You just touched on something that I think is important. It's in line with how we feel about ourselves. We're allowing these other people to dictate even how we feel about ourselves.
Right.
And that's a big component of it. I found anyway, through my own experience, how I felt about myself was affecting everything when I really came down to it, to the root of it. When I was doing that inner work, doing that, search, doing these things, figuring out how I was going to let my past go, my own trauma, release and to be able to be the person I wanted to be and live the life that I wanted to live, help help even lose some of the weight, some of the things that I wanted to do, help reduce that. That was a very, very key component because a lot of times we as women are told we're not good enough or we're
Yeah.
always trying to please somebody, like we say, like whether it's the boss, the husband, the kids, whatever, that affects your own self esteem and your own thought pattern about yourself. And we need to change that.
Yeah.
We really need to change that.
Yeah. I call it the people pleaser, the big umbrella, because a lot of that falls under that. And really it goes back to a real core issue. All of us have core issues. But they usually go back to, am I going to be abandoned if I don't make you happy? Am I not lovable if I don't make you happy? Which goes back to a real primitive thing in humans that back in the day we had to be in the tribe or we'd die. And that primitive part of our brain, that amygdala, is like, oh, we're going to die. You don't love us. And it's
Yeah.
very, when we really slow down and really dissect that, it's irrational, but feelings, nervous system isn't going to talk to you in rational pieces. It's going to talk to you in the way like, no, you don't understand. We're going to die. So yeah, it's very important to look at how we feel about ourselves because we teach people how to treat us and what
Yeah.
we allow.
What we
And
allow. Yes.
yes,
Yes.
so it can be
And
a very
sometimes I think it's
regulated.
like what you said at the beginning about your parents. God, a lot of them, you love them.
Yeah.
But sometimes parents don't realize that they're actually giving their kids a complex. And you know what I mean? Or sometimes
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
over parent or helicopter, don't allow them to express themselves or even the way we speak to them, depending which generation, we were in. I came from a generation of where corporal punishment was still a thing. So I know that affect my self-esteem. And then my kids, by the time they were born, corporal punishment had gone away and, it was time out and this and that and the other thing. So and even because both my children are adults now, and I look at them and the way they handle themselves, even in a work situation as well as personal situation and so forth. And the younger one is more digital as well. They're both millennials, but one's at the forefront and one's kind of at the end of it. So that's a whole different breed in itself. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
So the point I'm trying to make is that we as parents and then our parents as well, we're doing the best we can, but sometimes we don't even realize in the moment what we might be saying or doing or how we're raising our children is going to affect their own confidence and the person that they're going to be.
Absolutely. Abs Yeah, that is something. I'm also trained as a registered play therapist, and early in my career, I worked with families, helping moms. Well, as you're talking about, you know, parents not meaning doing the best they can with what they have. I believe that to be very true. As a play therapist, I worked with tons of families and parents, and they'd come in so well-meaning, but they would often parent the way their parents had parented and not know,
Yes,
there's a different way. But the point to that is that we do the best we can with what we have. I do not believe I've not met a parent that really was malicious about, the kiddos. But kiddos encode stuff. You can look at the Lyrian theory that I love to use with kids. And he's a theorist that we use as therapists. But his theory is that there's a reason for every behavior. And if a kiddo doesn't understand something, they will create a story about what's going on. And then that story becomes fact, and they might carry it into adulthood. And I know I was born in the early 60s, and for parents to sit down and go, "Well, little Julie, this is what's going on." No, they were like, "Get out of here. This is adult business." So
exactly.
I was
Go play, right? Go
into
amuse
your
yourself. Yeah.
Yeah. But you were curious, and you could even feel that there might be something going on. So create your own story. And I think that, and then we have siblings. Siblings can kind of take a hit on our self esteem and how we feel about ourselves, and teachers and just our personalities that we're born with. But all that stuff needs to be explored, as you said, you've done for yourself, so that we can get an idea of how we feel about ourselves and how we truly want to approach adulthood and truly live our life. It's a messy journey, as I'm sure you realize. I have to tell my clients it can get worse before it gets better, but it's a valuable journey.
Absolutely, absolutely. So what advice or I guess where do you when you have, women that are in midlife that come to you and they're struggling to figure out what's going on with them or their symptoms and that, walk me through what kind of the process that you take looks like.
Yeah. First, I'm going to approach her with such empathy and connectedness that therapeutic alliance is very important. She needs to feel it safe. So it might take a few times of just getting to know each other. Let's feel safe together, because through that safety, just like in our body, we can open up. But the very first thing I'm going to do with her is teach her a full body scan. And we approach that with curiosity, self-compassion. There's no right or wrong, because we always want to go, "Am I doing this right?" And there's no right or wrong. But in this body scan from head all the way down to her tippy toes, I take her through the chakra centers, and she's just being curious and scanning for any physical sensation. We're trying to get her re-embodied. We're trying to introduce her back to her body. And I tell you, people don't like it at first. Like, "Oh, I don't want to be there." No, this is a bad
Yeah.
place to be. But
Yeah. We want to
through
bury it all and push it down. We don't want to have to, but we do. We have to find a way to release it, whether it's I write it down, tear it up, burn it. That's a
Right.
form of releasing. And I think it's important. I talk about living presently as well. When you choose, keyword being choose, to live in this moment, then the past isn't with you, right? The future you're not worrying about yet. You're worrying about the moment that you're in right now. And when you do that, the other stuff can't hurt you.
Well, it's not there. The past is a fantasy. It's over. It only lives in our head in the way
It
we
does, yeah.
internalized it. The
But yet we
future is a
wanna
fan
keep it there. We wanna it's like it's,
Yeah,
and how I it's why?
yeah, yeah,
Right?
yeah. Well, in the
It's
future,
okay to let it go. It's okay to let it go.
yeah, yes, yeah. And the future is a fantasy because we don't have a clue what's gonna happen in the future. All we have is the right here, right
It's
now,
right
present.
now. Yeah.
And in a
Yep.
regulated nervous system, you have the capacity to be right here, right now. When we're dysregulated, that frontal cortex is, like I said, it's not as available. And that's our reasoning. That's where, I mean, we can't even do a good meditation when we're in a, when we're
Yeah.
very dysregulated because
Yeah.
you're going to crawl out of your skin.
Yeah.
You can, and once you can feel the difference between sympathetic and dorsal into ventral, that social state, your body is a completely different place to be.
Mm.
Boundaries
Walk me through what
naturally
those
set.
3 things are. So for people who don't understand neuroscience, walk us through what those 3 things are that you just
Absolutely.
you mentioned.
Dr. Stephen Porges developed what we call the polyvagal theory, and thank God for him. So I'm glad he gave us this. I raised my kids in the 80s. We did not have this. I wish we had. It did come along to the 90s. But ventral state is regulated. You're social, you're playful, your nervous system is doing just I mean, it's relaxed. You feel very comfortable in your body. Your husband touches you and you don't go, one more thing. You go, oh, hey, let's connect.
Yeah.
It's a very,
Ooh. Yeah.
yes, absolutely. Like, yes, and what you talked about with your
Affection is
husband.
okay. Affection is okay, ladies. We can welcome it back, you know? Anyway,
Absolutely.
continue.
Yeah. Connected affection is beautiful. But, and that's the state where we are our most effective, where we're most at home. Then we have the sympathetic state, and that is fight or flight. And that's when your amygdala is doing what it needs to do. You have told it danger is around, or has seen something that equates danger, and it kicks you into back in the caveman day, the fight or flight, where you got away from that saber-toothed tiger. It's doing its job, but in today's world, where we're not being chased by a saber-toothed tiger, maybe we're just late to a meeting and we've been shamed all our life. If you're not 15 minutes early, you're late. How rude you are. Don't you care about anyone? So you're like, I'm
Yeah.
late. I'm going to lose my job. I'm going to be homeless. The kids are going to get taken from me. We do this
Yeah,
catastrophic
spiral.
thinking.
Yeah, definitely
Yes, just
spiral.
yeah. So we have that stress cycle start. Now, if the saber-toothed tiger is chasing us and we get away, we can stop the stress cycle circles in full and we're done. That's good. But in our state, there's no tiger. We're just, okay, from one meeting to, oh, I got to get the kids and oh my God, I got to do this. What are we going to have for dinner? What do you mean sex? I don't want anything, So we
I'm
stay.
tired. Let's just go to I am tired,
Yeah,
you
I
know?
don't want to be
I can tell
touched.
you this right now. Don't use that as an excuse, because by the time we reach midlife, our children are either grown, right? They are maybe off at college or so it's just you guys. And I'm going to say this right now. It's okay to have daytime sex.
What's best? Are you kidding?
Right?
That's the
Like, the
best
puppy
time.
will actually probably appreciate you more during the day, in between meetings, even on the lunch break or whatever, the weekends. We don't have to save it for at bedtime all the time. Now, I am one who is a little sleepy, so I do enjoy being able to go to sleep afterwards kind of thing. But that being said, when you're with a partner, I've been married coming up on 35 years. So I know how to compromise, you know what I mean,
Yeah.
as well. And it tickles him pink if I engage during the day and so forth. And so it's good for both of us because then maybe I want to go shopping, or something.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, because he's happy.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that I'm compromising myself or that I'm giving away anything like that. I am fully making this decision that as a good partner, right? That I know that this makes him happy when he's happy. I'm happy when I'm happy. He's happy. It works both ways.
It does, and that's a connected kind of thing. It's very different from obligatory sex or faking an orgasm. Connected intimacy, well, that's it. Intimacy is a connection. I've done a
Mhm.
lot of marriage counseling, and I've been married 35 years as well, and we have always had a robust and amazing sex life, and it has continued even through our cancers. But
Oh
it's
my
a
goodness, good for
commitment.
you.
Yeah,
Good for
yeah.
you.
And I write about that in my book because as we get older, as we age, sickness is going to happen, various things are going to happen. So it's important to understand the patience and compassion that you need to bring into the room when that's happened. But I've worked with couples who've been married 30 years and hate each other. There is no compassion. There's, I don't care what you want. They have so much resentment.
Yeah.
So I think we are very
Usually
fortunate
that's
that
I'm sure you can agree, usually that's a communication issue that goes way back, right?
uh,
That goes
absolutely it
way
is.
back. They've both holding on to stuff,
Yeah. Resentment,
but
resentment.
but anyway, that's a whole other conversation.
Well, it is. But it gets in the way of the bedroom. I mean, you're able to work with your husband and both of y'all are happy. Couples that have that resentment aren't able to get, they got to get the marriage straight to get that nervous system regulated. And, maybe I'm not going to judge anyone if they decide to get divorced or if they decide to
Yep.
stay together
Sometimes
or
that
whatever.
sometimes that is the better option
Yeah. But
for some people.
for the
Yep.
state of your nervous system, you've got to get that regulated.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not going
Yeah,
to
yeah, you know
regulate.
what? We did consider it because my menopause years, I talk about this in my own book, and I talk about it on the podcast, even a little bit in, even content that I put out, because my husband has his own health journey and that affected my journey and in a very negative way, or I allowed it to affect my journey in a very negative way for 5 years or more. So, we have been through that as well. We have been through
Yeah.
that that difficult time where we wondered, is splitting up the best thing, to do? It's funny because whenever we were kind of both or almost ready to do that, something would happen that would bring us back together. you know, whether it was a situation or whatever, or we were started communicated, in a different way that made us both understand, because we got to remember it is a two-way street, and sometimes men need to be communicated to a little bit differently, right? And it's the same for them. Sometimes, women may need to be communicated to a little bit differently, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's finding out what that is and so forth.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, communication is the absolute ingredient of any relationship, but certainly our marriages.
Yeah, I think so. I think so because it can be too easy to walk away. I'm sure when you're together with somebody, as I'm sure you know, right, being 35 years as well, there have been times over the course of it where you're wondering if that's the best, you
Yeah.
know, should
There's
we really be
seasons.
together? We think so differently, but in some ways, and all, I guess what I'm getting at is you need to make that decision, right? Because it's personal choice. If you really want to be with this person, do they truly make you happy? I mean, in my case, we both really enjoy each other's company.
Yeah. Yeah.
Always have. We just really enjoy being together and going on adventures together and stuff like that. In fact, in some cases, we like to do some things, just ourselves, not with other people. We have more fun when it's just ourselves. Because sometimes when you get other people around, then you have other personalities and things like this. And anyway, but yeah, it's relationships, take work.
What they do and what you just mentioned, the adventures together, that's something that desire requires. Desire requires novelty. It doesn't have to be a new sex position per se, although those are fun, but stretch if you're going to do something crazy.
Yeah,
But,
right.
but having adventures together, knowing how to have fun together is very important to bring desire back into the room. and
Yes.
that you enjoy each other's company. My husband and I are the same way. We like to travel alone. We don't like big groups to travel with. But we enjoy each other's company as well. We just got back from Spain, had a great adventure over there. And
Amazing.
you just got to keep adventure in the mix.
Yes.
That's very
Yeah.
important.
I think so too. I think so too. When there's a will, there's a way. I
Yeah.
think people get hung up on even the finances and that kind of thing. Well, you know what? So what if it takes you a couple months to pay off your trip?
It doesn't.
People
Yeah.
do it all the time.
Yeah.
And that kind of thing. You shouldn't not live your life. But anyway, we're kind of going in a different direction here. But it's all good, and I think it's important thing. I think it's important for, us people to talk about it because we're so routine, right? You get up in the morning, go to work, life can be so routine. You have to find out what truly inspires you, what makes you smile, what makes you happy, and who that person is with, or who do you want to share that with, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I like to have my clients schedule at least one something big a month. Now, it might be going to a play, it might be going to the zoo, something they can look forward to at least
Yes,
one a month. My
I would
husband's
agree.
retired now due to the cancer stuff. And so
Yeah.
we have lots more time because he was a state trooper. And those policemen have the
Well,
oddest schedules in the world. So
I can imagine it goes 24/7, right? Like, so they work all
for
kinds of
seven
shit.
on call, but it's wonderful to have that retirement piece and we can just go play more, but I know how fun it is. Like we're going to the Kentucky Derby, making a big trip next year and we're we're doing something in Sedona. Anyway, it's fun to have something on the calendar to look forward
Yes,
to
I
because
agree.
you're right, those daily things can be such a grind, such a grind. That just helps your nervous system take a breath and go, "Ah, this is great. I'm in that ventral state looking forward to something."
Yeah, yeah. You know what? On what Piggyback on what you just said about that the daily routine can be such a grime if we allow it to, right?
Right.
I'm always saying,
Right.
people who are, because a big thing that right now is for, coaches and so forth like ourselves to be able to go into the workplace. Menopause is huge in the workplace right now. What are companies going to do about this? How are they going to support women? Well,
Right.
I consider myself part of the solution.
Right.
Right? I'm not going I don't wanna go in and tell you what you should do. I want you to bring me in so that I can tell the women, right, what to do, how to handle it, and everybody can get a copy of my journal, things like actionable things to help you maneuver through it to be able so that you can still function in your job. And one of those things is to be able to find one thing and focus on it that you like about your job.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like a day kind of thing would be ideal, but find something new a day that you like about your job. And you'd be surprised to see how that can change the environment. If you're a person that's not enjoying your job, if you're a person that is enjoying your job, then more power to you. I love it.
Yeah, well, that helps. We all run our life by a narrative. Mark White's narrative therapy. I use that a lot with my clients. But what you're talking about is that narrative, and we can make the narrative say, "This is terrible. Oh my God, this is awful," or you can make the narrative, "Oh wow, look at that. Oh, look at that." I mean,
Woohoo.
we can really change how we're approaching life with a narrative shift.
Absolutely. Exactly. Yeah. That's why I call it the mind shift, right? A shift in perspective. And I know it works because I went through it myself
Yeah,
because I was
yeah.
thinking about everything negatively in my life. I was just in this, you know, depressive state for over 5 years, even thought
I'm
about
sorry.
I know. Well, but I allowed myself, and I let the symptoms control me and me instead of me managing them for such a
Yeah,
long time until I recognized all this, right, and had those pivotal moments and started doing this work and realizing that I could control a lot more than I thought I could, even without hormone therapy. I mean, I did go on it for 2 years, but then I came off, and I've had most of my success doing all this stuff, and know my estrogen, is not up to where it but it might never be. And that's okay because I know now how my body is functions and to be able to what to do to be able to have it be its best, what's exercise to do, making sure I lift those weights, right? And things like that. I couldn't believe how much mental clarity I started to get after I began to lift weights.
That's I have taught exercise since the '80s when Jane Fonda.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Jane Fonda
I've
workout. Yeah.
yeah, I've taught. I mean, that's one consistent I've had in my life. But as I've aged and the ladies I work with have aged, weightlifting is eminently important. Back when I was younger, I thought it was all about aerobics, but that
Yeah.
was the day I was in. But yeah,
That's when you just
weight.
wanted to burn calories. It was all about just burning calories. But
We
now
didn't
it's
know.
about strength. It's about strength. And
Well,
anybody
bone
listening,
density.
if you don't know the connection between lifting weights and what that does to your brain, as well as help you produce your own hormones, we're here to educate you on that right now because it does. And I know it from my own experience. It was one of the biggest shifts was lifting those weights to even get the clarity back. The
Yeah. Well, and it's bone density and muscle mass. And, one thing I have ladies do after we do our body scan is start doing hip circles. We're so locked up in our body, especially our hips. Ladies carry a lot of trauma through our hips, ancestral or birthing, whatever, however it might come about. But hip circles are really important, or figure eights with your hips, that pelvic bowl that helps to get blood flowing back into or blood flow back into our genitals, just little things like that. A butterfly pose or a child's pose, really good to get that fascia opened up. Our tissues do hold our issues. That's a very true thing. And so we've
that I haven't heard that before, but I love it.
well, well, they really, well, I mean, it's embodied. So that's why we can't think our way out of it. We've got to move our body through the energy. So just little bitty things like that. Putting a tennis ball under your desk, kicking off those stilettos and just rolling your foot on that tennis ball and then feeling the difference between the right and left foot and go, whoo, you can feel the energy starting from the sole of your foot up, which is our root chakra as well. But
Mhm.
it helps to move energy. It helps to get us grounded. And even I know I have a stand up desk here at the house. So I do squats or I'll just kind of move. And I have her do my clients do that as well. That's energy, that's grounding. Walk outside,
Speaking of
leave the
grounding,
phone.
I have a grounding mat.
Those are
I put my
perfect
feet
too.
on a grounding mat every
Yeah.
day, and
Yeah.
it does work because it helps release that extra energy, static, kind of because we are made of electricity, energy
Right.
is being so you can actually sleep better by releasing. Some people I know people who, like, put it on their chairs, so their
Uh huh.
feet and that are on their chairs at nighttime. You can get them even on your bed, but
The
I
bed.
have one under my desk, so I have my feet on a grounding mat every day.
Yeah. Well, I tell you, being grounded is eminently important. There is no way we can do all the work we need to do if we don't first have that grounding, getting
Mhm.
embodied and feeling that grounding.
Mm, that's fantastic. Well, this has been a really great conversation.
It
I've had a really
has.
wonderful time. We've covered a lot of ground.
Well, yeah,
So we'll make sure we'll put your links. Thank you so much for joining us today and educating us and sharing this conversation with me. For anybody who would like to get in contact or buy Dr. Julie's books, we will have some links below in the description. Thank you so much for joining me today.
thank you. Thank you. I
And I'm
appreciate
going
it.
to
And
go ahead.
I've got a quiz that helps ladies figure out which somatic pattern they're in as they move towards grounding. It's free, but that's a good place to start any of this is to take that quiz and see what the hell's going on.
I might just take that quiz myself. You never know. So thank you so much, Dr. Julie, and thank you for joining us today. Please remember to choose self love first. Bye for now.